Researchers claim that time travel is possible. A sheriff's deputy killed by a massive sinkhole in San Antonio. And the propaganda about Russian propaganda. It's SkyWatchTV for Tuesday, December 6th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, the Pizzagate story got even more bizarre, if that were possible, over the weekend. As we mentioned yesterday, a North Carolina man was arrested Sunday afternoon when he walked into Comet Ping Pong, the pizza restaurant at the center of the so-called Pizzagate conspiracy, an alleged pedophile ring run out of that restaurant in Washington, D.C. 28-year-old Edgar Madison Welch was arrested after he reportedly fired at least one round from a rifle inside the restaurant. No one was hurt. Welch told police when he was arrested that he'd come to self-investigate the Pizzagate story, surrendered to police after he says he found no evidence that children were being held at Comet Ping Pong against their will. The major media, of course, blaming Welch's strange behavior on the so-called fake news being propagated by alternative news sites on the web. But here's the odd thing. It appears that Mr. Welch is a struggling, or some might use the word failed, actor. Fired his weapon after everyone had left the restaurant, escaped out the back door. Now, this story might be just as it's being reported by the major media, or, well, let's just say it sure sounds like exactly the kind of story that you would invent if you wanted to completely discredit not just the Pizzagate story, but the alternative media that has even mentioned it, and of course, everybody who is talking about it or believing it. And that's what's driving the larger fake news meme, the reaction of the major media to being shoved out by alternative news sites. We told you about that hit piece in the Washington Post last week, which cited the work of a group called Prop or Not, Propaganda or Not. Allegedly anonymous, well, they are anonymous, but allegedly impartial researchers who cooked up a list of 200 alternate news sites that they are claiming spread Russian propaganda. This includes news sites like the Drudge Report, only the third most popular news site on the internet, InfoWars, even SteveQuayle.com. According to Prop or Not, here is what constitutes Russian propaganda. Criticism of the United States, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the European Union, Angela Merkel, NATO, Ukraine, allies of the United States, the mainstream media, Democrats, and the center-right or center-left, and moderates of all stripes. In other words, it's basically anybody who might criticize U.S. foreign policy. The thing is, even liberal journalists like Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept or The New Yorker, definitely not a conservative publication, have published responses to the Washington Post calling it, and I quote now, rife with obviously reckless and unproven allegations and fundamentally shaped by shoddy, slothful journalistic tactics, end quote. And when you look at the website for Prop or Not, or its Twitter feed, you find out pretty quick, it's not an impartial, unbiased group. They are advocating, basically, the foreign policy of the neocons. And that explains this story. Last Wednesday, Congress quietly passed H.R. 6393. You can look it up, GovTrack. The Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2017. Sounds pretty routine. It passed by a wide margin in the Congress, about 390 votes in favor. Routine until you read Title V, Section 501, which calls for the government to counter measures by Russia to influence the media. Under the terms defined in the bill, that would mean anybody who is criticizing Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Angela Merkel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, SkyWatchTV on occasion. We're kind of disappointed we didn't make that list of 200. We'll try harder in 2017. But here's the interesting thing. This bill passed in the House, was introduced 2 days before the Washington Post's hit piece on the alternative media, almost as though they were, well, it was a coincidence. I'm not a coincidence theorist. Now, consider the latest column by Patrick J. Buchanan, Pat Buchanan, a man who actually scared me when I saw him speak at the 1992 Republican National Convention on TV. I wasn't there. They don't invite people like me. I've since come to realize that Pat Buchanan is a pretty smart guy. And I actually had the opportunity back in 2006 to interview him on a radio program I hosted in mid-Missouri. Had the chance to tell him that he had scared me in '92, but I had since changed my opinion. Buchanan points out in this column that we, the people, have been fooled by fake news for more than 150 years. Fake news spread by the mainstream media. For example, on October 27th, 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt told the American people, and I quote, "I have in my possession a secret map made in Germany by Hitler's government, by the planners of the New World Order. It is a map of South America as Hitler proposes to reorganize it. The geographical experts of Berlin have ruthlessly obliterated all the existing boundary lines, bringing the whole continent under their domination." End quote. But President Roosevelt went on. He said he had a second secret document in his pocket, also created by Hitler's government, quote, "A plan to set up an international Nazi church. In the place of the Bible, the words of Mein Kampf will be imposed and enforced as Holy Writ, and in place of the cross of Christ will be put two symbols, the swastika and the naked sword. A God of blood and iron will take the place of the God of love and mercy." End quote. Just one thing. Those two secret documents were actually fakes, forgeries created by British intelligence. It's a story told in the book A Man Called Intrepid. Roosevelt's address, which is a response to a torpedo attack by a German U-boat on the U.S. destroyers Greer and Kearney. That's the USS Kearney there. 11 American sailors were killed. The attack occurred in October of 1941 when the U.S. was not yet at war with Hitler's Germany. But Roosevelt failed to mention that the Kearney and the Greer were conducting anti-submarine operations in cooperation with Britain's Royal Air Force, their planes dropping depth charges. So you could argue that the U-boats were trying to defend themselves. Not that I'm defending Adolf Hitler or Hitler's Germany, just making a point that President Roosevelt could have mentioned that fact to the American people. Or journalists doing their due diligence as reporters might have asked, why are American destroyers escorting convoys taking war material to a nation that's fighting a nation that we're not at war with? But they didn't. And in 1941, although this is not something we're commonly taught in our high school history classes, the American people didn't want to get involved in another land war in Europe. They still remembered very clearly the horrors of World War I. Trench warfare, chemical warfare, millions of people dead. It was a nightmare that the citizens of the United States wanted no part of. Roosevelt wanted to get us into the war, and so he delivered part of the story and used fake documents to back it up. And no one in the media questioned it. But this is not the only case that Buchanan cites in this column. In 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which got the United States involved in Vietnam, never happened. The reports were invented by the National Security Agency, and the NSA passed the knowingly false information on to President Johnson. And the U.S. spent 8 years in the nightmare that was called Vietnam. Remember the Maine. That was the battle cry that got us into the Spanish-American War. To this date, in 2016, no evidence yet to conclude that Spain was responsible for the destruction of the USS Maine. Didn't matter. It was reported as Spain's fault. We went to war with Spain, and as a result, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines became American protectorates. And going back to 1847, U.S. Congressman Abraham Lincoln presented in Congress his spot resolutions, demanding to know the exact spot that American soldiers had died at the hands of Mexican soldiers. President James K. Polk had claimed that it was on American soil, and so we went to war with Mexico and relieved Mexico of half of its territory. In fact, those American soldiers died in land that was disputed between the U.S. and Mexico. But the American public wouldn't have bought the idea of war if the true story had been told, or was not as likely to. And again, the American media passed on the information as it was given to them by the government in Washington, D.C. The point is this: the major media in the United States has a long history of spreading fake news when it serves the interests of the government in Washington, D.C. What's being called fake news today is only fake news because it doesn't serve the interests of the government in Washington, D.C. And the reason that journalists working for outlets like the Washington Post, CNN, New York Times, Huffington Post, and others are throwing journalistic standards out the window is because they're terrified. If we, the people, are no longer buying what Washington, D.C. is selling, then those media outlets serve no purpose to their masters. And that scares them. And speaking of fake news, we told you about this story, the commemorative edition of Newsweek magazine that was printed and sent out days before the election, declaring Hillary Clinton the winner. A chief editor, senior editor for Newsweek, admitted on Fox News the other night that no one on his staff wrote anything in that magazine or even read anything in that edition before it was mailed out. It was subcontracted to a third party. They wrote, edited, published, shipped with no editorial control by the actual editorial staff of Newsweek magazine. And they wonder why the American public isn't buying their version of fake news. Coming up, President Obama says no to moving the U.S. Embassy in Israel again. That's next on SkyWatch TV.
Coming exclusively from SkyWatch TV for a very limited time starting December 6, 2016. When you purchase the new 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative from SkyWatchTV.com, you'll receive the largest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free books, DVDs, audio files, and the never-before-released data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on The Sheerith Imperative, which includes 56 Christian classic works on PDF. All 28 episodes in Dr. Michael Lake's Understanding the Kingdom audio series, the latest version of Eastward for Windows, the 3-part Into the Multiverse television series where Josh Peck interviews Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative, and nearly 3 hours of bonus interviews on video with Dr. Lake on the Sharpening Report. For your library or to give away as gifts. Also included in this biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history are Josh Peck's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, The Quantum Future and Extra-Dimensional UFOs. Dr. Michael Lake's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, Jericho, The Anatomy of a Stronghold, and The Shinar Directive. The new 5-part SkyWatch TV special investigative report on the books, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and The Sheerith Imperative. But that's not all. You'll also receive the new Best of SkyWatch Television on DVD. Over 5.5 hours of the most popular episodes in SkyWatch TV history. Travel through the multiverse on the new Best of Into the Multiverse on DVD. Over 5 hours of audio with Josh Peck on the coming Technocalypse. The best-selling book, The Final Roman Emperor. An incredible 5-year subscription to the SkyWatch magazine. 2 brand new free gift books, and the never-before-released data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative. For your library or to give away as gifts, an unprecedented value of over $400 in never-before-offered free products. This is the biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history, and it's yours absolutely free when you purchase the new 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative for only $39.95 plus shipping from SkyWatchTV.com, beginning December 6, 2016. But be advised, this astonishing promotion is limited to first come, first serve while supplies last. So it's urgent that beginning December 6, 2016, you place your order for the new 3-book special investigative research collection. This offer is on a limited time basis and will end without notification. So be sure to visit SkyWatchTV.com to follow the updates. In the countdown to the biggest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history, the unprecedented value of over $400 in never-before-offered free products while supplies last. For more details, log on to SkyWatchTV.com.
The world looks insane to people who don't have a Christian worldview. That's because we understand the world is under the temporary dominion of principalities, powers, thrones, dominions, rulers of spiritual darkness. But God is raising up a remnant. Dr. Michael Lake talks about it. It's part of his new book, The Sheereth Imperative. He's our guest on SkyWatch TV this week. A complete list of dates and times where you can watch the program, posted skywatchtv.com/channels. And by the way, one new outlet this week. We welcome a new network to the SkyWatch TV family. It's the Family Entertainment Television Network, FETV, will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central Time. You'll find FETV at Dish Network Channel 82 and AT&T Uverse Channel 578. Again, FETV, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. Central Time. And we thank you for watching. And also, Dr. Michael Heiser explains the origins of evil this week and the role of the Watchers in creating evil. That's our SkyWatch TV web exclusive for this week. You'll find it only at the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku, the SkyWatch TV channel on YouTube, and of course at skywatchtv.com. President Obama says no to moving the U.S. Embassy in Israel. It's been in Tel Aviv. Every 6 months, the president signs a waiver blocking the move. This is part of a law that was passed back in 1995, requiring that the embassy be moved to Jerusalem, but giving the president the power to sign a waiver postponing the move for 6 months in the interest of national security. Apparently, it's been in the interest of national security for the last 21 years. But incoming President Donald Trump has promised to move the embassy to Jerusalem. A website on the dark web, that's the part of the internet where people go to buy and sell and trade things they don't want anyone else to know about, is asking for donations through Bitcoin to finance the assassinations of Donald Trump and Mike Pence. No telling how serious this is, but the Secret Service is aware of it. A courthouse bailiff in Bexar County, Texas, was killed Monday. 69-year-old Dora Linda Nishihara. She was killed when her car fell into a massive sinkhole that opened up due to a sewer line break and several inches of rain. The road was undercut, 12 foot of water in that hole. Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast, featured in undercover videos exposing the harvesting of body parts from aborted babies last year, could be prosecuted by the Texas Attorney General. The House Select Investigative Panel on Infant Lives is pushing for prosecution. That panel was formed in 2015 after the Center for Medical Progress released those undercover videos. Researchers are claiming now that time travel is, in fact, possible. Now, this is something I'll have to ask Josh Peck about. He'll be sitting in on Sci Friday this week. A team of physicists claim that there are parallel universes in which multiple timelines are playing out and that those universes can affect one another. The implications being that time travelers could move from one of these timelines, parallel universes, to another. And they also claim that every imaginable scenario for every possible action could happen sometime, somewhere. This is another aspect of the many interacting worlds theory that I mentioned last week. But it seems to me one of these implications is that that God could have no justification for holding us morally accountable for anything. I mean, if me in this universe decides to accept Jesus Christ and live according to his will, what about the other me that chose a different path? Or the other me's on alternate timelines? And I mean, that you start going down that road, that way lies madness. But there are people out there who take it seriously enough to believe that really there is no consequence to anything that you do. We'll get into this a little deeper and discuss the science behind it on Sci Friday this week on SkyWatch TV. Every now and then we hear about this asteroid Apophis, which is named for a demon snake in the ancient Egyptian religion, tried to eat the sun every night when it went below the horizon. A scientist at Cal Berkeley says it's on a path that could someday impact the Earth, leave a crater about 2 miles wide. NASA says it's not a threat, but there is talk of sending a mission to investigate Apophis when it comes close to Earth in 2029. And finally, proving that I clearly know nothing about art, the 25,000-pound Turner Prize was awarded Tuesday night in England. Helen Martin was the winner. She specializes in, and I'll quote, using handmade and found objects to create poetical visual puzzles. It works. I'm puzzled. But at least her work was more tasteful than one of the other finalists who gave us this. I'll say this about that. At least this was one of the only entries that looks like something. If that's art, I'll stick to music. You'll find us on the internet, skywatchtv.com. Links to all of our social media sites are there. You'll find me on the web, derekpgilbert.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is Skywatch TV.
Many ancient prophets foresaw Abaddon rising from the underworld in this very age. The satanic human sacrifice by CERN employees in front of the god Shiva was called parody. But all occult masters understand that symbolism was a powerful invitation for a doorway to be opened at CERN.
The secret origins of CERN are nefarious to the core.
Sergio Bertolucci, the science director at CERN, admits that they're trying to open a doorway to a parallel reality, and they hope that something, unknown unknowns he calls them, will come through it. And CERN was built right over Apolliacum, where the ancients believed the doorway to Abaddon and the bottomless pit exists.
Is the bottomless pit from Revelation chapter 9 about to open? The biggest and most secretive investigation ever is set to be published, disclosing what no report has done before in Abaddon Ascending.
Technology today is being developed so that we can communicate with extra-dimensional entities.
The ancient conspiracy at the center of CERN's most secretive mission. But how will God's people, the remnant, prevail over the principalities of darkness during the final showdown between heaven and hell? Though hell may have its directive, heaven has its imperative. Increasing evidence from around the globe of miracles, healings, and prophetic visions indicate that God is already raising up an army of believers for the greatest awakening yet. Coming this December, internationally acclaimed best-selling authors and researchers Dr. Thomas Horn, author and researcher of quantum physics Josh Peck, college president Dr. Michael Lake, investigative researcher Reverend Donna Howell, and the host of Southwest Radio Ministries Dr. Larry Spargimino. A research finale so huge and important it had to be published in a new 3-book collection. Abaddon Ascending. The ancient conspiracy at the center of CERN's most secretive mission, the Sheerith Imperative, empowering the remnant to overcome the gates of hell.
He always has a plan. He's playing chess while the devil's playing checkers.
Final Fire. Is the next great awakening right around the corner?
There are signs all around the world right now that we are on the cusp of the next great spiritual awakening.
There is revival breaking out now where there has never been the faith.
This 3-book collection available December 6, 2016. For more details, log on to skywatchtv.com.